The surge of children at the U.S. southern border is now both a political and a humanitarian crisis. The U.S. Border Patrol reports a 92% spike in children flowing across the Mexican border, many without their parents. The Texas Attorney General is asking the U.S. Department of Homeland Security for immediate help, $30 million in resources, to be exact. Dale Hurd has more on the problem that is overwhelming on several fronts.
It's an unprecedented surge on America's southern border. Thousands of minors crossing over, most without parent or adult guardians, and picked up by the U.S. Border Patrol.
Undeniably, there is a problem of humanitarian proportions in the Rio Grande Valley sector that we must deal with.
In the past 8 months, U.S. Border Patrol has detained 47,000 unaccompanied minors, almost double last year's number. They're said to be fleeing gang violence and poverty. But sources say they're also motivated by the belief that women and children will not be deported. Immigration activists say the children are being treated badly.
They are being shackled. They're being routinely denied food and water and medical treatment.
But this government video shows an HHS facility where children seem to be treated well, in cafeterias and classrooms learning English. More than 600 of the young immigrants are on their way from Texas and Arizona to Fort Sill, an Army post in Lawton, Oklahoma. Residents there are concerned about the long term. Who will take care of them?
We don't have the answers to the questions. We know that Oklahoma will be overburdened if these children should be released into Oklahoma.
To the south on America's border, one source says the U.S. is fighting a losing battle against this immigrant surge. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
And joining us for some insight on this is reporter Chuck Holton, who lives with his family in Panama. Chuck, why do you think these kids are streaming across the border in such huge numbers?
Well, Mark, there are two big factors in this equation. One is a push factor, that is the poverty and the violence that's taking place in those Latin American countries. And the other is a pull factor, and that is several issues here in the United States. One is that we've got 12 million undocumented Latin American people here working in the United States. And those people have families back in Latin America. And so as things get violent and as things get poor in those countries, in Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, El Salvador, their children decide to come north to live with their fathers in the United States. But the bigger issue, Mark, is the welfare state in the United States. It's hard for an American to understand how unbelievable that sounds to somebody in Latin America. Where I live in Panama, they don't have any welfare system. If you don't work, you don't eat. And surprisingly enough, people survive without help from the government. And so the thought that you could go to America and you could get paid just for being there and not even have to work is just mind-boggling to these people. I know people in Panama who are wealthy, but who choose to go illegally into the United States right before they have a baby, because they know that if they have a baby in the United States, then that child will be an American citizen, and they'll be able to have the baby for free, and they'll be able to stay and get postpartum care and all that sort of thing, and then they come back to Panama 6 or 7 months later.
So what else?
I've seen that happen.
Yeah. So you're kind of going along with these reasons. What else do they think is waiting for them in America?
Well, again, they have family, most of them up here. But for many of them, if you think, gosh, why would they take the danger of making that kind of a voyage up here as an unaccompanied minor? Well, it's dangerous where they live too. Places like El Salvador, in a lot of respects, are really like a failed state. El Salvador, they say that 90% of the crime goes unsolved. Well, when you can't even solve 10% of the crime in your country, the government of that country really doesn't have much of a handle on things. And so the mothers down there, they're looking at their prospects and they're saying, you know, my daughters are being raped by the gang members here in El Salvador. So, you know, maybe they have a chance of being sexually abused in the United States too, but hopefully they have a chance of a better life. So it's really a choice between bad and worse.
Okay, Chuck Holton, thanks so much for being with us and sharing your insights.